Picture this. You are watching your own speedboat racing across the lake at full speed. The engine is roaring. Water is spraying everywhere. But you are not the one driving it. The person behind the wheel is Karen. The same Karen who runs our HOA like her personal kingdom. The same Karen who stole my boat 3 days ago and claimed it was for community safety. And now, she is fleeing from police in my own boat while screaming into her phone that she is being attacked. I am standing on the shore watching this unfold. Sheriff deputies are chasing her in their marine unit. Other boat owners are pulling their kids out of the water. And Karen is about to learn that stealing someone's property has consequences she never imagined. But this story starts 3 weeks earlier. Back when I thought the biggest problem in our lakeside community was deciding which bait to use for bass fishing. I moved to Lakeside Pines 3 years ago for one simple reason: the lake. After working 12-hour days in construction for 15 years, I had finally saved enough money to buy a small house on the water. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom ranch with a dock and a boat slip. The speedboat came 6 months later, a beautiful 2019 Bayliner with a 350 horsepower engine. I found it at an estate sale, spent 2 months fixing it up, and another month learning how to drive it properly. Every weekend I would take it out on the lake. Just me, the open water, and the kind of peace you cannot buy in any store. Our community had 47 houses spread around the lake. Most of the neighbors were friendly. We had barbecues, helped each other with yard work, and generally lived the quiet suburban dream. Then Karen Mitchell got elected as HOA president. Karen was different from the previous president. Where Bill Henderson had been content to organize the annual block party and make sure everyone paid their dues, Karen saw problems everywhere. She started with small things. Mailboxes had to be specific colors. Grass could not be taller than 3 inches. Holiday decorations had to be removed within 5 days. Then she discovered the boats. "These watercraft are becoming an eyesore," she announced at the monthly HOA meeting. "They are loud, they pollute our peaceful environment, and they attract the wrong kind of people to our lake." I looked around the room. Half the people there owned boats. We all used the lake responsibly. We followed speed limits, stayed away from swimming areas, and kept our boats clean and well-maintained. "What exactly are you proposing?" asked Jim Peterson, who owned a small fishing boat. Karen smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "I am proposing new regulations. Boats can only be used between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. No loud music, no parties, and all boats must be inspected monthly for safety and environmental compliance." "Who is going to do these inspections?" I asked. "The HOA will hire qualified inspectors," Karen replied. "The cost will be covered by a special assessment on all boat owners." That night I went home and read our HOA bylaws cover to cover. It took me 3 hours, but I found what I was looking for. The HOA had no authority over lake activities. The lake was public property, managed by the county. Karen could not regulate boat usage any more than she could regulate fishing. I brought this information to the next meeting. Karen did not like being challenged. "The bylaws are outdated," she said. "Community standards have evolved. We need to prioritize the safety and tranquility of our residents." "But you do not have the legal authority to do this," I replied. Karen stared at me for a long moment. Her face was calm, but her eyes were cold. "Mr. Rodriguez, I think you will find that the HOA has more authority than you realize. If you continue to be difficult about this, I may have to take matters into my own hands." After the meeting, Jim Peterson pulled me aside. "Be careful with Karen," he said. She has been asking questions about everyone's property. Who owns what, how much things are worth, whether people are following every single rule. It is like she is building files on all of us. That night I sat on my dock looking out at the lake. The water was calm, reflecting the stars. My speedboat bobbed gently in its slip. I had worked so hard to afford this little piece of paradise, but I had a feeling that Karen was going to make me fight for it. I had no idea how right I was. Saturday morning started like any other. I woke up at sunrise, made coffee, and walked down to the dock to check on my boat. The morning mist was still rising from the water. It was going to be a perfect day for a ride. Except my boat was gone. I stared at the empty slip for a full minute, thinking I was still half asleep. Maybe I had moved it and forgotten. Maybe someone had borrowed it. Maybe it had broken loose during the night. But the dock lines were gone too. Someone had untied my boat and taken it away. I ran back to the house and called the marina office. "Has anyone seen my speedboat?" I asked. It was in slip 23. "Hold on," the manager said. I heard him typing on his computer. "I show that boat was removed early this morning, around 6 a.m. Removed by who? According to the log, it was a scheduled HOA safety inspection. The boat was towed to a secure facility for evaluation. My blood turned to ice. What HOA inspection? I never authorized any inspection. "Sir, you will need to take that up with your HOA president." The paperwork appeared to be in order. I hung up and immediately called Karen. She answered on the first ring, like she was expecting my call. "Karen, where is my boat?" "Good morning, Mr. Rodriguez. I am glad you called. Your watercraft has been removed from the marina due to safety concerns." "What safety concerns? My boat is in perfect condition." According to our inspection, the vessel showed signs of neglect and posed a potential hazard to other lake users. It has been relocated to a secure storage facility pending further evaluation. I could not believe what I was hearing. "You had no right to touch my boat. It is my private property." "Actually, Mr. Rodriguez, I think you will find that the HOA has broad authority to address safety issues that affect the entire community. Your boat was creating a liability risk." "Show me the inspection report." "I will be happy to provide you with all the documentation. Why do not you come by my house this afternoon? We can discuss your options." I drove to Karen's house in a rage. She lived in the biggest house in the neighborhood, a colonial with perfect landscaping and a circular driveway. She was waiting for me on her front porch, holding a manila folder. "I am sorry this had to happen," she said, not sounding sorry at all. "But community safety has to come first." She opened the folder and showed me a stack of papers. There were photos of my boat, inspection forms, and what looked like official documentation. But something was wrong. The inspection report was dated 3 days ago, but no one had been near my boat. "This is fake," I said. "No one inspected my boat." Karen's smile never wavered. "I understand you are upset, Mr. Rodriguez, but arguing with me will not solve your problem. Your boat is currently being stored at a secure facility. Storage fees are accumulating daily. If you would like to recover your property, you will need to pay the inspection costs, storage fees, and a compliance fine." "How much?" "The current total is $800. However, that amount increases by $50 per day until the boat is claimed." I stared at her. This was not about safety or community standards. This was extortion. "You stole my boat." "I removed a safety hazard," Karen corrected. "If you continue to use inflammatory language, I may have to file a harassment complaint with the police. Where is my boat? It is being held at a secure location. Once you pay the required fees, I will be happy to provide you with the address. I wanted to grab her fake folder and throw it in her face. I wanted to call the police right then and there. But Karen was holding all the cards. She had my boat, she had official-looking paperwork, and she was threatening to make me look like the bad guy if I pushed too hard. I need time to think about this, I said. Of course, but remember, storage fees are accumulating. The longer you wait, the more expensive this becomes. I drove home in a daze. Karen had not just stolen my boat. She had created an entire fake legal framework to justify the theft. She had paperwork, she had procedures, she had answers for everything. But I had something she did not expect. I had 15 years of construction experience dealing with permits, inspections, and legal documentation. I knew what real paperwork looked like. And Karen's paperwork was as fake as her smile. Monday morning, I called the sheriff's office to report my stolen boat. The desk sergeant took my information and told me a deputy would call me back within 24 hours. Deputy Sarah Chen called me Tuesday afternoon. Mr. Rodriguez, I have some information about your boat theft report. It seems there has already been a complaint filed about you. My heart sank. What kind of complaint? A harassment complaint, filed by one Karen Mitchell. She claims you have been threatening her and refusing to comply with legal HOA requirements. That is not true. She stole my boat and is demanding money to give it back. Sir, I understand your frustration, but we have to investigate all complaints equally. Can you provide me with any documentation about this boat removal? I told her about the fake inspection report and Karen's demands for payment. Deputy Chen listened patiently, then asked me to email her copies of everything I had. I will look into this, she said, but I have to tell you, HOA disputes are complicated. Sometimes what looks like theft is actually a legal property action. After hanging up, I realized Karen had been one step ahead of me. She had filed her complaint first, controlling the narrative. To law enforcement, I looked like an angry homeowner who would not follow the rules. That evening, I decided to do some detective work. I walked through the neighborhood, talking to other boat owners. What I discovered made my blood boil. Tom Williams had lost his fishing boat 2 months ago. Same story. Karen claimed it was a safety hazard, had it towed, and demanded fees for its return. Tom paid the money because he could not afford to fight. Sandra Martinez had her jet ski confiscated 3 weeks ago. Karen claimed it was too loud and disturbed the peace. Sandra was still fighting to get it back. 5 boat owners in total. All had their watercraft taken by Karen using fake inspections and manufactured safety concerns. All had been told to pay fees or lose their property permanently. But here was the interesting part. I drove to the marina where Tom's boat had supposedly been returned. The dock master remembered the boat, but he also remembered something else. That boat was in rough shape when it came back, he said. Looked like someone had been using it hard. Lots of fishing gear that was not there before, scratches on the hull, gas tank nearly empty. Karen was not just stealing boats, she was using them. I spent the next 3 days documenting everything. I made copies of Karen's fake paperwork, took photos of the inspection signatures that did not match any county records, and created a timeline of all the boat thefts. Then I called Deputy Chen back. I think you need to see this, I said. Karen Mitchell is not just violating HOA rules. She is running a criminal enterprise. We met at the sheriff's office Thursday morning. I spread out all my evidence on a conference table. Deputy Chen studied everything carefully, taking notes and asking questions. "This is interesting," she said finally. "But we need more than paperwork to make a case. We need to catch her in the act." "What do you mean?" "I mean we need to document her actually demanding money for stolen property. We need recordings, witnesses, something that shows clear extortion." "How do we do that?" Deputy Chen smiled. "You are going to call Karen and tell her you want to pay the fees. You are going to arrange to meet her and get your boat back. And we are going to be watching." That night I called Karen. She answered on the second ring, cheerful as always. "Mr. Rodriguez, I am so glad you called. Have you decided to resolve this matter?" "Yes, I want to pay the fees and get my boat back." "Wonderful. The current total is $1,300. Storage fees have been accumulating, you understand." "I understand. Where do I bring the money?" "I will need to coordinate with the storage facility. Can you meet me Saturday morning? I will call you with the location." "I will be there." "Excellent. I am glad we can resolve this like adults." After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen staring at my phone. Karen thought she had won. She thought I was just another neighbor who would pay her extortion money and keep quiet. She had no idea that Saturday morning was going to be the beginning of the end of her criminal operation. Friday evening, Deputy Chen called with the plan. "Karen contacted you yet?" "She texted me an address about an hour ago. Some warehouse district on the other side of town." "Perfect. We have been watching that location since yesterday. It is an abandoned industrial building with a large parking lot. Plenty of room for surveillance." "What do you need me to do?" "Exactly what she expects. Show up with the money, act like you just want your boat back, and let her incriminate herself. We will have audio and video recording everything." Saturday morning, I drove to the warehouse district with $1,300 in cash and a recording device hidden in my shirt pocket. The area was deserted except for a few trucks and Karen's white BMW parked near a large metal building. Karen was waiting for me by her car, holding another manila folder. She was dressed like she was going to a business meeting, not conducting a criminal transaction in an abandoned warehouse. "Good morning, Mr. Rodriguez. I am glad you decided to handle this professionally. I just want my boat back." "Of course, do you have the payment?" I held up the envelope containing the cash. $1,300 like you asked." "Excellent. Before we complete this transaction, I need to show you something." Karen led me toward the warehouse. The building was huge, with loading docks and broken windows. She had a key to a side door. "This is where we store watercraft that pose safety risks," she explained as we walked inside. The warehouse was dimly lit, but I could see enough to make my jaw drop. There were boats everywhere. At least 20 boats of various sizes, along with jet skis, canoes, and other watercraft. Some looked well-maintained, others appeared damaged. "My God," I whispered, "how many boats have you stolen?" "We prefer the term temporarily relocated for safety evaluation," Karen corrected. "The HOA has been very aggressive about protecting our community from hazardous watercraft." "This is insane. These boats belong to people." "These boats belong to people who refuse to follow community safety standards. Most of these owners have been contacted about reclaiming their property. Very few have been willing to pay the required fees." I looked around at the boats. Some had "for sale" signs on them. Others were clearly being used, with fresh scratches and empty gas tanks. "You have been using these boats?" Karen smiled. The HOA occasionally tests confiscated watercraft to ensure they meet safety standards. This requires periodic operation under controlled conditions. You mean you have been taking them out on the lake? I mean we have been conducting thorough safety evaluations. She led me deeper into the warehouse, past rows of stolen boats, until we reached a familiar sight. My speedboat sat in the back corner, connected to a battery charger. There is your watercraft, Karen said. As you can see, it has been properly maintained during storage. I walked around my boat checking for damage. The hull was scratched, the seats were dirty, and the gas tank was nearly empty. Someone had definitely been using it. It looks like it has been driven hard. Safety testing requires comprehensive evaluation of all systems, Karen replied. Now, about the payment. I looked at my boat, then at Karen, then at the warehouse full of stolen property. The recording device in my pocket was capturing everything. Deputy Chen and her team were listening to every word. Before I pay you, I need to ask something. What happens to the boats that people do not claim? After 90 days, unclaimed watercraft are sold to recover storage and administrative costs. And where does that money go? It goes to the HOA General Fund, of course. Community safety initiatives are expensive. I nodded, understanding completely now. Karen was not just stealing boats for personal use. She was stealing them to sell, using fake HOA authority to justify theft and extortion. I see. And how long have you been running this operation? Karen's smile flickered for just a moment. I am not sure what you mean by operation. The HOA has been protecting community safety for over a year. A year? So you have been stealing boats for a year. Mr. Rodriguez, I do not appreciate your tone. Do you want to complete this transaction or not? I held up the envelope of cash. I want my boat back. Then hand over the payment and we can finish this. I was about to give Karen the money when I heard something that made my blood freeze. The sound of sirens in the distance, getting closer. Karen heard them too. Her face went pale. What did you do? She asked. I did not do anything. But the sirens were getting louder. Karen rushed to the window and looked out at the parking lot. I could see police cars in the distance, approaching fast. You called the police, she said, her voice rising with panic. I told you, I just want my boat back. Karen looked at me, then at the envelope of cash, then at the warehouse full of stolen boats. The sirens were very close now. She was trapped and she knew it. That was when she made the decision that would change everything. Karen ran toward my speedboat like her life depended on it. You set me up, she screamed over her shoulder. You called the police. Karen, wait, I called after her. Do not do anything stupid. But she was already climbing into my boat. The engine was connected to the battery charger, which meant it was ready to start. Karen turned the key and the 350 horsepower engine roared to life. I watched in disbelief as she frantically untied the boat from its moorings. The warehouse had a loading dock that opened directly onto a canal connected to the lake. Karen had been using this setup to move stolen boats without being seen. You are not taking my boat again, I shouted. But Karen was not listening. She gunned the engine and shot out of the warehouse like a rocket. The boat hit the canal at full speed, sending up a massive spray of water. I ran outside to see police cars surrounding the warehouse. Deputy Chen was talking into her radio, coordinating with other units. When she saw me, she ran over. Where did she go? She took my boat. She is heading for the main lake. Deputy Chen got back on her radio. All units, suspect is fleeing by water in a stolen speedboat. I need Marine Unit response immediately. Through the trees, I could see Karen racing across the lake. My speedboat was fast, but Karen clearly had no idea how to handle it. She was going way too fast for the narrow canal, bouncing off the water and nearly hitting the shoreline. "Does she know how to drive a boat?" Deputy Chen asked. I seriously doubt it. Karen reached the main lake and opened the throttle even more. The boat shot forward like a missile, but she was not steering properly. She was heading straight for the swimming area where families were enjoying the Saturday morning. "Oh God," I said, "she is going to kill someone." Deputy Chen was already on the radio calling for the Marine Unit to intercept. But Karen was moving too fast. She flew past the swimming area, missing a family of swimmers by maybe 20 feet. That was when I heard the sound that made this whole situation even more insane. Karen was on her cell phone, screaming at someone. "This is Karen Mitchell," her voice carried across the water. "I am being attacked by criminals. I need police assistance immediately. They are chasing me in boats. I am in fear for my life." I looked at Deputy Chen. Is she seriously calling 911 while fleeing from police in a stolen boat? Apparently so. The Marine Unit arrived just as Karen was making her emergency call. Two sheriff's boats appeared from the marina, their blue lights flashing. Karen saw them and somehow managed to go even faster. "I am being pursued by unmarked boats," she screamed into her phone. "I think they are trying to kidnap me. I am the HOA president. I demand protection." The Marine Unit tried to get alongside Karen's boat, but she was swerving erratically. She clearly had no idea how to handle a high-speed boat on open water. "Ma'am, this is the sheriff's department," one of the deputies called over a loudspeaker. "Cut your engine and prepare to be boarded." Karen's response was to go even faster. She was now doing at least 60 miles per hour across the lake, with no regard for other boats or swimmers. Other people on the lake were starting to notice the commotion. Boats were pulling over to get out of the way. People on the shore were pointing and taking videos with their phones. "Karen Mitchell, stop your boat immediately," the Marine Unit called again. But Karen was not stopping. She was heading for the far side of the lake, where the water was shallower and more dangerous. "She is going to hit the sandbar," I told Deputy Chen. "The water gets really shallow over there." "Is that bad?" "At the speed she is going to launch that boat into the air." Karen was still on her phone, still claiming she was being attacked. "I am the victim here," she screamed. "I am being harassed by criminals who stole my boat." The irony was incredible. Karen was fleeing from police in my stolen boat while claiming that I had stolen her boat. The Marine Unit was closing in, but Karen was approaching the dangerous shallow water. If she hit the sandbar at full speed, she could be seriously injured or killed. "Cut the engine," the Marine Unit called one more time. Karen looked back at the pursuing boats, then ahead at the approaching shoreline. She was running out of lake and she knew it. That was when she made her final, desperate decision. She turned the boat sharply to the left, trying to head back toward deeper water. But she turned too sharp at too high a speed. The boat hit a wave wrong, bounced into the air and came down sideways. I watched my speedboat skid across the water like a stone, completely out of control, heading straight for the sandbar. The speedboat hit the sandbar with a grinding crash that could be heard across the entire lake. The engine died instantly, and Karen was thrown forward into the steering wheel. From the shore, I watched my boat come to rest on the sandbar, tilted at a crazy angle with its propeller completely out of the water. Karen was slumped over the wheel, not moving. "Is she okay?" I asked Deputy Chen. Marine unit is responding, she replied, listening to her radio. Paramedics are on the way. The sheriff's boats surrounded my speedboat within minutes. Karen was conscious but clearly shaken. She was holding her phone in one hand and waving frantically at the deputies with the other. "Help me," she called out. "I am being attacked. These people stole my boat and forced me to flee for my life." One of the Marine deputies climbed onto my boat to check on Karen. His body camera was recording everything as Karen continued her bizarre claims. "Ma'am, you are under arrest for theft of this watercraft and fleeing from law enforcement," the deputy said. "You do not understand," Karen protested. "This is my boat. I confiscated it from a criminal who was violating HOA regulations. I am the president of the Lakeside Pines HOA. I have authority here." "Ma'am, this boat is registered to Miguel Rodriguez. We have been investigating reports that you stole it from him." "That is ridiculous. I was conducting a safety inspection when these criminals attacked me." The deputy helped Karen out of the boat and into one of the Marine unit vessels. She was not injured, just scared and completely convinced that she was the victim. "I want to press charges," she announced. "Against Miguel Rodriguez, against all of you. This is harassment. This is illegal. I am going to sue everyone involved." By now, a crowd had gathered on the shore. Other residents from our neighborhood had heard about the chase and come out to watch. Some were taking videos with their phones. "Is that Karen Mitchell?" someone called out. "Why is she being arrested? What was she doing in Miguel's boat?" Deputy Chen and I arrived at the marina just as Karen was being brought to shore. She was in handcuffs, still protesting her innocence. "Miguel Rodriguez," she called out when she saw me. "Tell them this is your fault. Tell them you stole my boat." "Karen, that is my boat. You stole it from me 3 days ago." "That is a lie. I confiscated it for safety reasons. I have documentation." Deputy Chen stepped forward. "Mrs. Mitchell, we have been investigating your activities. We found the warehouse with 23 stolen boats. We have recordings of you demanding money for their return. We have victims who are willing to testify." Karen's face went white. "Those boats were safety hazards. I was protecting the community." "You were committing theft and extortion." "I was doing my job as HOA president." "The HOA has no authority to confiscate boats from a public lake." For the first time since this whole ordeal began, Karen was speechless. She looked around at the crowd of neighbors, at the deputies, at the news crew that had somehow arrived to film her arrest. "This is not over," she said finally. "I will fight this. I will prove I was protecting our community." They loaded Karen into a police car and drove her away. The crowd slowly dispersed, but the gossip was just beginning. "I cannot believe she stole all those boats," one neighbor said. "How long has this been going on? What happens to the HOA now?" As for my speedboat, it was stuck on the sandbar until high tide. The hull was scratched, the propeller was damaged, and the engine would need a complete inspection before it could be used again. But I had my boat back. More importantly, Karen's criminal enterprise was finished. 3 hours later, I was at the sheriff's office giving my statement when Deputy Chen brought me an update. "We searched the warehouse," she said. 23 boats, total value over $200,000. We also found Karen's financial records. She has been selling boats and keeping the money. This is going to be a major case." "What charges is she facing?" "Theft, extortion, filing false police reports, fleeing from law enforcement, and reckless endangerment. She is looking at serious prison time." I thought about Karen sitting in jail, probably still insisting she was the victim. After months of terrorizing boat owners and stealing property, she had finally been caught. Justice was about to be served. 6 months later, I was sitting on my dock watching the sunrise when I got a text from Deputy Chen. Thought you would want to know. Karen Mitchell was sentenced yesterday. 3 years in prison, 5 years probation, and full restitution to all victims. I smiled and took a sip of my coffee. Justice had been served. My speedboat was back in its slip, fully repaired and running better than ever. The insurance company had covered the damage, and Karen's seized assets had paid for the repairs her reckless driving had not covered. But the real victory was bigger than just getting my boat back. Karen's arrest had exposed a criminal enterprise that had been targeting our community for over a year. 23 boats were returned to their owners. Thousands of dollars in stolen property was recovered. The HOA underwent a complete restructuring. Karen's cronies were voted out, and new leadership was elected with strict oversight requirements. No more fake inspections. No more manufactured emergencies. No more one person having unchecked authority over the entire community. 3 other victims of Karen's schemes had filed criminal complaints. Tom Williams got his fishing boat back, along with compensation for the months he could not use it. Sandra Martinez recovered her jet ski and received damages for the stress and legal fees Karen had caused. But the most satisfying moment came 2 weeks after Karen's sentencing. I was out on the lake when I saw a familiar white BMW being loaded onto a tow truck. Karen's house was in foreclosure, her assets seized to pay restitution to her victims. The same house where she had smugly shown me fake paperwork and demanded money for my stolen boat was now being sold to compensate the people she had victimized. The new HOA president, Jim Peterson, called me a few days later. "Miguel, I wanted to thank you for standing up to Karen. If you had not fought back, she would probably still be stealing boats and terrorizing residents." "I just wanted my boat back," I replied. "It was more than that. You showed the rest of us that we did not have to accept abuse from people in authority. You proved that standing up to bullies makes the whole community stronger." He was right. Karen had counted on people being too intimidated or too tired to fight back. She had used fake authority and manufactured legal documents to steal from her neighbors. She had turned the HOA into her personal crime syndicate. But she had made one crucial mistake. She had picked the wrong target. The lake community is peaceful again. Kids swim in the designated areas. Families have barbecues on their docks. Boat owners enjoy their weekends on the water without fear of fake inspections or manufactured safety violations. Karen's criminal enterprise is finished. Her victims have been compensated. Her authority has been stripped away. She is serving time in prison where she cannot steal boats or terrorize neighbors. As for me, I am back to my weekend routine. Saturday mornings, I wake up early, make coffee, and walk down to my dock. My speedboat is waiting in its slip, ready for another day on the water. The lake is calm, the sun is shining, and Karen Mitchell is exactly where she belongs, paying the consequences for her actions. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes you have to fight for what is right. But in the end, the truth always comes out. Karen thought she could steal my boat and get away with it. She thought her fake authority and manufactured paperwork would protect her from consequences. She was wrong. Now she has 3 years in prison to think about her mistakes. 3 years to consider the difference between real authority and criminal behavior. 3 years to understand that actions have consequences, even for HOA presidents. The lake is peaceful again. The community is stronger. and my speedboat is right where it belongs in my slip, ready for the next adventure. That is what real justice looks like.